Hi, everyone. Welcome into Primetime TV Show. I'm your host, Barbara Marville Kelly, and with me is my co-host, Janice Kelly. Hey, we got the red memo.
How about that?
We got the red memo because this Sunday is Valentine's Day. It is the month of love and living from the heart, which should be every single day of the week. So I've been promoting on Facebook about our singles and singles again, you know.
Yes, I know.
Where did that come from anyway?
Years ago. Stumble onto that, right.
Exactly, because you know what? Everybody's going to be single at one time or another, right?
That's absolutely correct.
So I thought it would be kind of fun for us to share some of the things that we've gone through in our vast learning experiences about relationships and looking for the right relationship, looking for the, as we call it, the perfect 10, right? Is there such a thing, really, a perfect 10?
No, it's not a perfect 10, but it's having something to guide. In other words, something to act as a guideline to what we really want to end up with and what we should end up with to get somebody that we want to end up with.
Exactly. So we have to work on ourselves as well, which is something both of us have done.
Absolutely.
And maybe by the time we came together, which was about 20 years ago, we had this checklist. In fact, you know what my husband told me after we had already been dating? This was years later. He had this checklist that I had no idea of. And he's checking it off, one little check after another in his mind. And that was after our date, our 4-hour date at the local Perkins.
Yeah, I was checking to see how many checkpoints you lived up to.
But you never told me until we just got to
Well, you never asked me.
Oh, I didn't know anything about that.
Well, you weren't ready to be told at that point.
Oh, is that what it was?
I had to make sure that our relationship was settled in before I let you know my tactics.
So, in other words, you wanted to make sure that I was already hooked.
That's it. That's a good way of putting it.
Okay. Well, I respect
like you
that.
never turn over the pancake till it's ready.
Trust me, it's not easy being me sometimes. But I love that concept. You know, the whole scale of 1 to 10. I've been using that more and more and in my coaching. And it just seems like that number 10 keeps coming up, coming up, coming up. And it really is a good scale. In fact, I did a talk the other day to a bunch of women, wonderful women, very successful women. I was honored to speak. And I was talking about rating ourselves on a scale from 1 to 10, whether it be in business or personal relationships or even how you value yourself, because that's really where it starts, right? It starts with us.
Absolutely.
And how we feel about ourselves so that we can attract a mate, attract somebody that is going to have a lot of the same qualities, a lot of things in common. We were talking about, just before the show, some of the things that were really important to us and probably should be important to anyone and everyone, and that is the trust factor. Let's talk about that. Trust? Trust is important.
Yeah, well, stress, any new relationship, there's a certain amount of stress as you're jockeying for position as far as knowing where you stand with each other. And it's basically, what do you have to offer? That's where that 10 comes in. It reminds me when Groucho Marx used to say, I will never join a club that would have me as a member.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, because he wasn't so happy with himself?
That was just his little cliche. In other words, he would never join a club that would have him as a member.
That's pretty funny. That's
well,
really
it's
funny.
sort of how that parallels with a relationship. Most everyone wants a 10. In other words, when we talk about a 10, I don't mean just in looks like the Bo Derek movie where this gorgeous body and everything else that goes with it. But looking for a 10 as far as different qualities, if you graded them from 1 to 10. For example, attractiveness doesn't necessarily mean they have to be good looking, but attractive, usually their mannerisms have a lot to do with how attractive they are. And integrity, trustworthy, all those things. Each person can form their own 10 requirements. Then the key is, how do I stack up to those requirements myself?
That's right.
And that's where that little metaphor of using Groucho Marx as an example. So the key is, well, let me say this. When I would do my single seminars years ago, I would ask how many in the room would like to find a 10. Well, everybody raised their hand just about 10, and I explained what a 10 was. Then I said, how many of you are a 10? Hardly anybody raised their hand. There's a little disparity there.
We weren't thinking along those lines yet.
If you can't say you're a 10, then how can you expect to get a 10?
That makes sense.
So what I tell everybody, if you end up, say you lose your loved one through an accident or through a divorce or whatever, the key thing is then you're starting all over. Then the key thing is to know what you want. But before you go out and get what you want, prepare yourself to be what you feel that you want to have as far as the quality of relationship. Are you good enough? Do you meet those requirements yourself? Now, for example, if you're looking for integrity and you don't have integrity, you're in deep trouble. Because then that's somewhere down the line it's going to catch up with you.
It'll come back to haunt you.
Right. If you're looking for attractiveness and you don't remain attractive, you don't be attractive for your mate, then that's, and they're attractive, that's going to be a disparity there.
That makes a lot of sense. It really does. And unless you kind of analyze that or kind of think of it along those lines. But I have a question for you. What if someone doesn't really know what they want? Is that actually possible, not to know what you want? I think we all know what I knew what I wanted when, well, no, as I go back to when I was 19 and got married, I didn't care. I just wanted to get out of the house. And I made a big mistake. But I was so young. But after all that was behind my life, I wanted somebody like you.
Well, isn't that sweet?
Well, we have so much in common. We can sit and talk endlessly about anything in the whole world, which was very important to me. And I think our match of enthusiasm of that list of probably 10 or more things, really we could probably check off each one of the lists. We both have so much in common. We love the martial arts. We love love. We love our puppies and our animals. We love people, and we love giving back and service. And it's really very refreshing to have a mate that your enthusiasm matches. We both love to be healthy. We're always looking, searching, and seeking the latest in health and wellness, and we both definitely believe that age is only a number.
That's true.
Yeah, it is true.
Well, you know, I at first used to pick out the 10 points in my seminars, and now we pass out the paper, and everybody then could relate to that. But then I found out later on it was better to pick your own 10 points. You know, and just to give the audience a little hint, the things you'd be looking for is financial stability, because biggest reason people get divorced, one of the biggest reasons, is financial problems. And in other words, your sexual preferences as far as how you feel about intimacy and things, those are things people are also afraid to discuss. But it's important to discuss. And how you argue.
Yeah.
Remember the little time I pulled that on you?
What was that? I forgot now.
A Jewish rabbi one time said, before you get married,
See how they fight.
Find out how they fight.
I passed, though.
You sure did.
I fought nice, didn't I?
You sure did.
Did I? I played some tricks on you, though, I think,
yeah,
after
it
that.
backfired on
you
me. I won't
asked
even
for
get into
that.
I don't necessarily recommend that one to the audience, sir.
But, you know, really looking for the perfect 10, I don't know that there's a perfect 10 out there, because perfection...
It's all in the mind.
Well, you always say perfection is only a direction, and that is setting goals for in anything, whether it's in your personal life, whether it's in business. It's a direction to be seeking out. At least that's what I have found. So you put a list together of what is important, and honestly, the trust and the integrity is really very much at the top of the list, and a sense of humor.
Yeah, that's one of the things I had on the list of 10. How much of a sense of humor does your partner have, or would you like them to have?
Exactly. Do you know, I reposted something on Facebook the other day, and I forget exactly what it said, but it's something having to do with if you haven't grown up by 60, never mind, don't worry about it. You don't have to. I love that.
That's
I reposted
cute.
it, There was like about 150 people that went on there and made comments. And you know what? I don't really feel like I want to grow up. There's a lot of this little girl still inside of me. How about you? And I think that's one reason why we get along so well.
The biggest misnomer. Misnomer, I'll get it out. Biggest misnomer is when people say, act your age.
What's that mean?
I don't want to act my age.
I don't either.
I like hanging around with young people. I like the fact of being able to diversify in my relationships with friends and things like that. And I don't expect people that I'm friends with to be interested in the same things I'm interested in. You know, like some of my hobbies are not hobbies that most men my age would have.
Like drag
fighting,
racing?
drag racing,
Competing in the martial arts?
in the martial arts. You know, people my age don't think about this. They figure those days are gone.
Well, don't you think it's because that old paradigm, that old belief system that when we hit a certain age, this is what's supposed to happen. Like when you hit your 40s, this happens, and then it's downhill from there. They make all kinds of jokes about, you know, when you hit your 40s, it's just all over, and then when you hit your 50s, it's worse, and your 60s. I mean, we never even talk about things like that because we're still growing, we're still accomplishing, we're in front of the TV camera sharing all the things that we've learned in our life experience. And believe me when I tell you, we don't have all the answers. We are still learning, aren't we?
Absolutely. Well, life is a learning process. Mm-hmm. The other thing, one of the main purpose of a relationship, and this is so important, is to be able to grow together. If one person in a relationship does not grow, growing means being able to get more intellectually, in other words, more knowledge, being able to grow emotionally, being able to grow physically, being able to improve your health and fitness. If you got one person that's into that and the other person isn't, there's a disparity, and somewhere down the line it's going to clash. Mm-hmm. Could cause a breakup, divorce, whatever. Mm-hmm. That's why it's important to know. You don't have to share all the same things together. There's some things you should have apart.
Absolutely.
That you like. That's
sure.
Healthy.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest problem with a relationship is when people expect somebody else to make you happy. When I find that right person, I'll be happy.
Thank you for saying that.
That's codependency. No one can make you happy. And that was the big problem here. When they don't make you happy, you start resenting them.
Like it's their fault.
Yeah, like, well, that person's not making me happy. I mean, they don't say that, but they're in the back of the mind, well, I don't feel as happy as I should be with them.
So they dump out on the relationship.
Yeah.
Thinking
then
that.
They go looking for the next
And the
person.
same thing happens, right?
And
then it happens again and again and again, and they don't
pick the same kind of person. I think sometimes people like that are sadomasochistic.
Gosh,
they like pain.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, they keep going back for the same kind, and that sort of reminds me of myself when I was younger.
Oh, when you were younger, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I made those same mistakes.
See, so you can speak to that.
Yeah, but then my answer to you is I was in training for you.
I know, that's what you say.
So I don't regret any of those relationships. They helped me understand different personalities, and I wouldn't trade that for anything. In fact, I remain friends with most of my relationships. Mm-hmm. In other words, I try never to end a relationship ugly. Mm-hmm. You know, that's important. The big thing is we aren't born with a manual.
I know.
They don't teach us in school how to have a relationship. They don't teach in school hardly anything that you need out there in life.
No. It's all the studies, the basics and everything. And I think that's why people go through their own self-empowerment at some time or another, or they don't grow and they stay very immature. We were just talking about how we don't want to grow up, but there are some things that do need to be actually mature, and that is your ego drive and your empathy balance.
Good point.
And that we're going to be talking about after we come back from the break, because all these things that we've learned and we're still learning, we want to share with you because we've seen so much hurt and so much pain, and there's people out there that don't have relationships, or maybe they have lost them, but never ever give up hope. I said one time, never again. After my first bout in my first marriage, all I wanted to do was have a bunch of cats and dogs after I raised my kids and all that. And then this one came along and changed the whole picture for me. And you just never know. And I couldn't be happier with what I have now. And we've been together over 20 years now.
You put up with me for over 20 years. How about that?
Yeah, and you put up with me too. I don't know if I could put up with me. I get on my, still get on my nerves. We're going to take a break. On that note, we'll be right back.
This is one bee that loves going to the dentist because it's made for you and me.
My name is Dr. Becerra from New Tampa Pediatric Dental, providing a comfortable atmosphere in early dental care. Gives kids a great start for healthy teeth and gums for life.
When I go to Dr. B, they don't do anything to hurt you. I used to be afraid, but I'm not now.
I'm not afraid of the dentist anymore. I love to see Dr. B. Call New Tampa Pediatric Dental today.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonatti created, perfected, and patented the Bonatti spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonatti invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonatti spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonatti succeeds where others fail.
Everyone's story is different, so why be limited to just one or two options? With Norcom's Norflex Home Loan, you're given the flexibility to tell your story. Pick your terms from 8 to 30 years, all while maintaining a low, fixed mortgage rate. You can pay off your loan more quickly or choose a term based on your budget and timeline. Whatever you do with the Norflex Home Loan, make it part of your financial plan. Norflex, short-term, long-term, your terms. Apply online at norcommortgage.com.
This is one bee that loves going to the dentist because it's made for you and me.
My name is Dr. Becerra from New Tampa Pediatric Dental, providing a comfortable atmosphere in early dental care. Gives kids a great start for healthy teeth and gums for life.
When I go to Dr. B, they don't do anything to hurt you.
I used to be afraid, but I'm not now.
I'm not afraid of the dentist anymore. I love to see Dr. B. Call New Tampa Pediatric Dental today.
Welcome back in, everyone, to Primetime TV Show, our special edition on singles and singles again, because you know what? We're all going to be there at some point or another. And in our first segment, we were actually talking some of the pointers to really look out for, set yourself up for, so to speak. And then just before we took our break, we were talking about ego drive and empathy balance. And we're going to be talking about what that actually means, because it's part of really balancing yourself. And I'm going to turn that over to the Grand Poopah, because you're very good at explaining that.
Well, you know, the ego drive and empathy balance is really, it's oversimplifies in a sense the fact of what we need to really have a winning personality and get ahead. But also, if you really dig into it, it really makes a lot of common sense. First of all, ego drive is your insatiable attitude of winning. And the ego drive is where you are proud of yourself and you are driven for passion, by passion, in other words, towards whatever goals you have. So ego drive is this insatiable urge to improve, to get better, and so on. And of course, that, like anything else, can get out of line. Empathy balance is your ability to be sensitive to other people's feelings. I don't mean sympathetic, I mean empathetic. There's a big difference. Sympathetic is where you share the feeling. That doesn't do any good whatsoever. Empathetic is basically where you understand how the person feels. So what happens is when somebody's ego drive is stronger than their empathy balance, they're going to make a lot of waves. They're going to get a lot of people pissed off, excuse my expression. So the thing, and they may be successful, but they're going to do that by busting their head through the wall. In other words, it's like a bull in a china shop sometimes, that ego drive.
Why?
It's just, sometimes it's because they're insecure. They feel they need to to excel in this and excel in that, to be wanted and needed. So that ego drive, you need ego drive, but that needs to be in balance with empathy balance.
Does that have something to do with like when people have a tendency to be like really, really arrogant and trying to make that everlasting impression on somebody else?
Well, ego drive, if you have a low empathy balance, you're going to hurt a lot of people. You're not going to be very popular, and you're not going to be very successful from your emotional intelligence standpoint. If your empathy balance is too low, and it's very low, like I say, you're going to, like I say, make a lot of enemies and friends. Now, when your ego drive is down low and your empathy balance is high, you'll have this wonderful feeling for everybody and everything around you as far as understanding, but you will have no insatiable desire to excel. You will actually be satisfied with complacency.
I was just going to say,
you'll be content.
Yeah, you'll just be content with being
and
complacent.
Content is an open valve. It's a nice place. It's a beautiful horizon, but it has no passion to it.
Right. It's a safe place to be.
It's a safe place.
It's a comfort zone.
Right.
And sometimes it's kind of hard to step out of our comfort zone, right?
Yeah, and being a nice place, there isn't any negative fusion going on in that world, but it's not a place where passion, it gets things done. Passion is listening and living. Passion is creating. Passion is really feeling your own power through the passion.
And you know, that spills over into relationships big time. We were talking about during the break and hopefully that will give you a little idea on what the ego drive and empathy balance is, because it has a lot to do with our EQ, which is our emotional intelligence.
Yeah, it has to be balanced.
Yes.
One excels the other, then you're going to have a problem. So that has to be a nice balance, or have a nice balance to it.
So before we move along, if I'm watching as an audience, how would I know how to keep that in? Give us a little formula or a recommendation on how to keep us in check that way.
What, with your empathy balance and ego drive, how to keep in check? Well, always relate to how do other people feel about me. In other words, do people want to be around you? And what you can do to develop a good, strong empathy balance is make sure anybody that leaves your presence, they always feel a little bit better about themselves. Because it's so much fun to make people feel good.
It is.
I love making people, but not being phony. I don't mean to.
Right.
In fact, if you tell them things that aren't true to make them feel good, they'll resent that. So making them feel good is, find something good you can say about. I love that jacket. It matches my shirt. See, that really looks nice on you. See, I really believe that.
Yes.
So it's easy to say.
Yes.
And then now, if we part a company right here, and you need to do something, I need to do something, you walk away feeling better about yourself.
I think it's really important. I like to do that even with strangers. You never know what somebody's going through in their life, you know, and even just smiling at someone can change their whole day.
Absolutely. And you know, these principles can be used in work. They can be used in play. They can be used in your personal life, with your children, and so on. It's so important to get people, young children, our children, to be able to have a strong empathy, balance, ego drive.
Absolutely.
One of the big things is having a high code of ethics.
Oh, absolutely.
If you don't have a high code of ethics, that ego drive and empathy balance cannot be balanced.
Absolutely, and walking your talk.
Absolutely.
Speaking of that, I'm going to go back to the trust thing that we were talking in the first segment. When we first met, and I went to the gym, which is where he was the director of this health club, and I was already planning on joining and everything. Actually, my son told me to go up there and join and meet this Dennis Kelly guy, and I'm going, I'm not interested, but I want to go and join the gym because I really needed to get my health back on track. So I did, and we were talking about body language, and this is going to be fun in our next segment because my husband's going to share, because he's the one that did all these singles seminars way back when to help singles bring them together and have some of these points of interest that can really help. So as we look back, he was giving me body language when I walked into the gym and I met him and he puffed up his chest. And I'm going, well, that's really interesting. And then after he enrolled me to the gym, he called me up every once in a while. I really liked him a lot. I did. And he'd call me up every once in a while and say, you haven't been to the gym. Am I going to have to come knock on your door? And I'd say, this was my way of flirting at the time. And I'd go, yeah, that might not be a bad idea. Go right ahead. Well, that just fell flat, laid an egg several times. And come to find out, he was going with someone at the time. And then a few weeks later, what was it? You had called me up, and I said, it was the same old drill. He said the same thing. I said the same thing. And he says, okay, why don't you come on up and we'll talk about it. Now, mind you, this is after I had done an all-night show at HSN, but I went up to the gym, did my workout, and we sat down and talked as friends, which is another thing that's very important. And that's when you had asked me out on my first date with you, and you had not flirted back because it showed me trust in an individual. So I remember that.
Yeah, I had broken up with my girlfriend. And then my mother met you when she was taking a Tai Chi class with you at the club where I was directing.
Yeah.
So my mother said, why don't you ask Barbara out? I like that girl. She didn't like my girlfriend. She said she was a gold digger. Yeah, Mom was really an honest person. She didn't interfere in my life too much, but she really hit it on the head when she knew that Barbara and I would be able to click.
Yeah, I loved your mom. So, you know, it's funny how things come out in a relationship even many, many years later, and how you just grow and evolve into a solid relationship. And these are some of the things that we want to share with you. And coming back, we're going to be talking about body language for both men and women, and what you can kind of look for, because I know there's a lot of singles out there, a lot of singles. I know what you guys go through because I hear it all the time from single relatives, from single friends, and I swear this time if I was ever by myself, I definitely would be sticking with my doggies and my kitty cats, because once you've had the best, you forget all the rest. So I want to say that with a great kudos to my husband and my best friend, and we really have been friends all along, and that's how we started out, was friends.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah,
most relationships that are successful start out as friends. Because usually a one-night stand, you always wonder about that person. You know, so that's important too, but that's a discussion I'll leave for later.
Okay.
I won't get into that.
Well, we're going to be talking about those signals. See, I never knew anything about that, but you did apparently.
Yes, I took a course in that.
Yeah, you took all kinds of courses and certifications, and we're actually going to be doing some workshops down the road here, and we'll let everybody locally know what we're doing, where we're doing the workshops or seminars and everything. In fact, we may even do something right here at the studio. So you just never know. We have a minute before our commercial break. You're going to be joining me for another segment, and then you're going to be skipping out, and I'll be wrapping up the show and just sort of recapping on what we've been talking about and everything. I'm glad that we're doing this today, because I see so many people out there seeking a relationship. And, you know, sometimes maybe it just isn't meant to be, and they kind of force, and they go out with everybody in the sun, or they go on all these matching, you know, websites and stuff, and they're so disingenuous. People show pictures on there from 20 years ago. What are we thinking here, right?
Right. Well, people don't know how to act. People don't know how to carry on a conversation, especially now with the computers we have, you know, with the laptops and everything else, and the computer world, the phones, people are forgetting to communicate.
Yeah, exactly. And it is so true. In fact, we had a guest on one of our chamber shows recently that was talking about communication. And he's actually a life coach, certified life coach, to help parents kind of bridge the gap and understand what's going on with the phones and all the different technologies out there. I'm not saying it ruins a relationship, but it dampers it a little bit, because you lose that personal touch. And I notice so many people in business are wanting to get back to that face-to-face, the handshakes, the good old-fashioned handshakes on business, and really, you know, face-to-face. And it's no different with personal relationships. So I'm glad that we talked about that. We're going to take a brief little time out, and we'll be right back. We'll talk about those body languages, okay? Don't go anywhere.
This is one bee that loves going to the dentist because it it's made for you and me.
My name is Dr. Becerra from New Tampa Pediatric Dental, providing a comfortable atmosphere in early dental care. Gives kids a great start for healthy teeth and gums for life.
When I go to Dr. B, they don't do anything to hurt you.
I used to be afraid, but I'm not now.
I'm not afraid of the dentist anymore. I love to see Dr. B. Call New Tampa Pediatric Dental today.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonatti created, perfected, and patented the Bonatti spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonatti invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonatti spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonatti succeeds where others fail.
Everyone's story is different, so why be limited to just one or two options? With Norcom's Norflex Home Loan, you're given the flexibility to tell your story. Pick your terms from 8 to 30 years, all while maintaining a low, fixed mortgage rate. You can pay off your loan more quickly or choose a term based on your budget and timeline. Whatever you do with the Norflex Home Loan, make it part of your financial plan. Norflex, short-term, long-term, your terms. Apply online at norcommortgage.com.
This is one bee that loves going to the dentist because it's made for you and me.
My name is Dr. Becerra from New Tampa Pediatric Dental, providing a comfortable atmosphere in early dental care. Gives kids a great start for healthy teeth and gums for life.
When I go to Dr. B, they don't do anything to hurt you.
I used to be afraid, but I'm not now.
I'm not afraid of the dentist anymore. I love to see Dr. B. Call New Tampa Pediatric Dental today.
Hi there, welcome back into Primetime TV Show. Our special edition is Singles and Singles Again, and giving you a few little tips that we've learned in our life experience. Barbara Marville Kelly and Dennis Kelly here. Hey, we're on a roll, aren't we?
Absolutely.
And so now in this last segment, we saved this one where we're going to be talking about body language, and you know way more about that than I do, but I can kind of pick up on it here and there. So how do you know if you're like out at a club or out anywhere meeting somebody, what kind of body language besides, well, I know about puffing up the chest because you've done that. So what does that mean? What does body language mean?
First of all, there's a misnomer. There's an old saying that you can't meet anybody at a club that's decent. You know what I mean? You have to go to church or somewhere. That's a misnomer. One of my best friends had one of the most beautiful relationships that I could ever imagine, has many grandchildren and one of the most successful marriages, and he met her at a nightclub.
See?
And I've met some relationships that were interesting, that we didn't end up getting married or didn't end up getting engaged, but really ended up becoming good friends that I met at a nightclub, you know. Because being a dancer or enjoying dancing and spending a lot of time in the dance business, we did a lot of shows at nice clubs and things like that. So that's why you never know when you're going to meet that Miss Right or Mr. Right. The thing is looking for signs and having some type of technique. Like, for example, we have so many of these dating clubs out there, and then they bring people together, and they sit there, they don't know how to communicate, especially with the computers we got and the phones we got now, the texting and that, people are communicating with machines rather than face-to-face.
True.
A couple things to look for. First of all, when you're out with someone, the worst thing to do is talk about yourself too much, especially about your past relationships, especially if they were bad relationships. Because I want to tell you, if somebody's complaining about their ex-husband or ex-wife and they start running them down, you want to get out of that relationship. I mean, you don't want to start a relationship, you want to go. Head for the hills. That person is not the right person, because they're going to find fault with you, because they're going to find something reminded you of their ex.
Comparison.
Comparison. Right. Now, how do you know if somebody's interested? Then what do you do? For example, when women see a man that they would like to meet, they usually start playing with their ear or their hair. So if you guys out there, if you at a club or at a church, doesn't matter where, and you see some woman look at you and she starts playing with her hair or ear, chances are 9 out of 10 times she's interested. She thinks you're attractive.
Really?
Yeah. Now the men, when they look at a woman that they would like to, they usually, without really, puff up their chest, just like you say I did with you, and I wasn't even aware of that.
So that must come just very naturally.
Yeah, yeah. The thing is, it's the same thing in business that you, as a salesperson in business, you learn how to, all the W's, what, why, when, where, what for.
Okay.
So those are the things to use. Find out as much information on that person as you can without giving as little information on yourself as you can. That way you're not exposing yourself to some things that might not be pleasant to them. But when you are asking questions, you're complimenting that person. It shows an interest. If you're not interested in that person, then you shouldn't be with them, even for a few minutes.
Very good.
Yeah, and when the guys walk into a club, they don't really know, half of them don't know how to pick up a woman, or when I say pick them up, that doesn't sound good, how to meet somebody, all right? Well, it is a pickup place. How to meet somebody? Well, first of all, this is scientific knowledge now. When I took my course back many years ago in neurolinguistic programming, we had a phase of that called singles and singles again, nonverbal communication. Learn how to see if somebody is interested in you and be able to what to do once you establish they are. Well, the thing is, if you're in a club or wherever you are, and some woman, if you're a man, and she looks over at you and she smiles, or shows an interest, starts playing with her ears, you got 30 seconds to make a move.
Really?
Yes. After 30 seconds, she's going to be sort of talking herself out of it for some reason or other. It's sort of, maybe she was embarrassed because she did smile. The fact that you didn't react, she figured you're not interested. So what I used to do, if I ran into that situation, first of all, I'd ask them to dance, being a dancer. But then, and then if that wasn't the case, in other words, say it wasn't a place where there was dancing, and if you're not a dancer, then have the waitress send them a drink. And then you can usually tell from there whether they want to proceed with that. One of the lines I used to use, so I didn't get into trouble with that, is I would walk up to somebody if I thought she was attractive and she could dance well and seemed to meet all the prerequisites. I would walk up to them and say, "Can I buy you a drink, or are you waiting to meet someone?"
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Because
sometimes they're waiting to meet someone. Their husband may be in the restroom or something like that.
Right.
So you get out from getting into trouble very quick. Some of those cliches they use are really killers. In others, once you use those, you're dead in the water. For example, haven't I seen you in here before? Those are terrible.
I know.
I mean, I could go on and on with the bad ones. Some of the lines are really horrible. But the one that seems to work the best, if you're a dancer, if you're a man and you can dance, women love to dance. 9 out of 10 women love to dance. And I tell all guys, go take dance lessons.
Absolutely.
That's the best investment you can make if you're wanting to meet someone. And if you're a good dancer, you can end up with the prettiest woman in the club, I can guarantee you.
You know what? There's so much truth to that. I don't know any woman that doesn't love to dance. And you know, when I first met you, the two major things that we really did have super duper in common was you were a dancer. I didn't realize the catch that I made here, because you were in professional ballroom dancing and a dance champion when I met him. Not only that, in the excuse me, in the martial arts as well. I always loved the martial arts, truly loved it, and those two things really attracted me, and plus his demeanor and his honesty and just his personality and everything. But I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Uh-oh.
And it may have something to do with something that you've never had anything to do with, and that's all these dating services and all the different, Match.coms and all of those and everything. I've heard all the nightmare stories out there. Well, not all of them, but a few, enough to really go, really? What does a person do in a situation like this, either male or female? They go on the dating websites, and the people that go on there are disingenuous. They put their height, they put their weight, they put their picture from 20 years ago, okay? They show up, they show up at the date, right? Maybe a meeting place or whatever out in public. And one or the other is so disappointed. How do they get out of that? Do they just go through the date and say, thank you very much, it's been nice, don't call me, I'll call you? How do you get out of that?
Well, first of all, you never, when you're doing a dating from a dating service, you never want to pick them up in your car. Have them meet you somewhere, just like I did with you. Mm-hmm. I said, well, look, so that we know for sure that we're interested in each other. In other words, so we're not put on a spot, I'll meet you. Let's just say a mild date like at Perkins Restaurant.
That's what we did.
And you drive your own car. That way, if you're unhappy with our conversation, don't feel the chemistry or whatever, that's fine. You got your own car, and then you can go your way and I can go my way. So that's one of the other areas that, to keep your, one of the most embarrassing things is to have somebody, you're meeting them at a club, you've never seen them before, and they give you all these good pictures of themselves and a nice slim body, and you go there and they're about 200 pounds overweight. And of course, I shouldn't say that couldn't be a right person for you.
Absolutely.
But if those things are important to you,
exactly,
the size of the person, the physical charm, and you have a right to expect to have that kind of person if that's the way they led you to believe they were.
Right.
Because before I would go on a date, I would make sure and have a lot of conversation with the person over the phone. Mm-hmm. You're not going to say, are you overweight or anything? Just tell me something about yourself.
Right, and it's not so much the whole overweight thing. It's just being disingenuous all the way around. I mean, there's short guys adding a few inches to their height, right?
Right,
and
they do that every time.
And
almost.
maybe girls too, or maybe they're disingenuous about their age. Because, some people are very conscious about being age appropriate. And I'm just wondering, to avoid that shock factor when you see a picture of someone and you're just assuming they're telling you the truth and everything, and then you show up and they're not that. I mean, I wonder if people get up and leave, or if they just sit through the date, or what do you do?
You make it a quick date.
Yeah.
In other words, you just say that I've got another appointment, but I just wanted to meet you, and I didn't want to feel you to feel obligated. We had to stay together, so if you want, give me a call or whatever. But the best way to get out of that is not even use that. The best way, just say, I appreciate you coming down, and I'll see you later. You have to break it off without making them feel bad.
Sure. Well, sometimes I think, people are disingenuous. They probably get what they ask for. I'm glad I don't have to do that. I know you are too. But we have seen what's going out there, and so we thought, let's share some of our tips that has helped us and that we've shared with others, and that's really the bottom line is I'm going to come back on my own and recap some of the points that we brought up today. But honestly, it's taking a look at yourself and seeing, do you want to mirror yourself and what your code of ethics is, and make that list and everything. So
when I went through this phase before I met you, when I was in my 40s, I'd be dating younger girls. And one of the things, when they would say, how old are you? I wouldn't lie, and I would say, how old do you want me to be?
Oh, that's a good one.
How old do you want me to be?
That's a good one.
Yeah,
you know,
it
on
works.
that note, I am going to let you skedaddle, and we're going to take a brief little time out here, and we'll come back and we'll wrap up our show here on Primetime on Singles and Singles Again. And thank you for joining me, my husband.
My pleasure, as always.
We'll be right back.
This is one bee that loves going to the dentist because it's made for you and me.
My name is Dr. Becerra from New Tampa Pediatric Dental, providing a comfortable atmosphere in early dental care. Gives kids a great start for healthy teeth and gums for life.
When I go to Dr. B, they don't do anything to hurt you.
I used to be afraid, but I'm not now.
I'm not afraid of the dentist anymore. I love to see Dr. B. Call New Tampa Pediatric Dental today.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonatti created, perfected, and patented the Bonatti spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonatti invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonatti spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonatti succeeds where others fail.
Everyone's story is different, so why be limited to just one or two options? With Norcom's Norflex Home Loan, you're given the flexibility to tell your story. Pick your terms from 8 to 30 years, all while maintaining a low, fixed mortgage rate. You can pay off your loan more quickly or choose a term based on your budget and timeline. Whatever you do with the Norflex Home Loan, make it part of your financial plan. Norflex, short-term, long-term, your terms. Apply online at norcommortgage.com.
This is one bee that loves going to the dentist because it's made for you and me.
My name is Dr. Becerra from New Tampa Pediatric Dental, providing a comfortable atmosphere in early dental care. Gives kids a great start for healthy teeth and gums for life.
When I go to Dr. B, they don't do anything to hurt you.
I used to be afraid, but I'm not now.
I'm not afraid of the dentist anymore. I love to see Dr. B. Call New Tampa Pediatric Dental today.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back into Primetime TV Show. I hope you've enjoyed our segments talking about singles and singles again. It's quite an interesting subject. And of course, my husband has a vast amount of knowledge because he was doing many single seminars way back in his day. And of course, going through various relationships time and time again, it really is helpful to be able to glean a few tips here and there. Because, you know, it's always nice to have a relationship. It's nice to have a partner. And it's even nice to have a partner in business, which we have that relationship as well. But you know what? Going out there and seeking a relationship, sometimes people try just too hard. And it ends up not happening for whatever reason. But there's so much that you can do as far as looking for a person, like we were talking about in our first segment. You know, you can make a list of the things that you will accept in a relationship because, as we said before, perfection is only a direction. And we say, look for the perfect 10. It is only a direction. Maybe you'll find somebody that's a 9 or even an 8. But if you're okay with that, that's awesome. But the one thing that we were stressing is how you feel about yourself. Are you a 10 Are you a 9 or an 8 or whatever it is? And if not, then that's where a little self-coaching and a little self-mastery comes in so that you can stack up to that person that you're looking for. I mean, there's nothing more rewarding than setting goals for yourself in personal growth and development, because what happens is it spills over into your business as well as your personal life, just by taking a look from within and bringing up all the good stuff about yourself, being genuine, being authentic, living a heart-centered life, because when you do, all that good stuff does come up. But when you make that list, think about it. You may, and I asked my husband, because neither one of us are smokers, and there may be some in the audience that are smokers, and you're okay with that. Maybe there's some that aren't, but they're willing to if the person has other qualities. They're intelligent, they're definitely trustworthy, maybe they have a sense of humor, which I think is so, so important. We've got to have a sense of humor. Everybody needs to have a sense of humor, really, to make this world a better place and to show more love and compassion and caring. Those are great qualities, and especially most women are looking for that as well. So guys, if you're out there, I'm giving you right from my heart some of the things that we're looking for. And if you aren't dancing, get out to your local dance school and learn a few steps and see what that does for you out and about in the clubs or even at a wedding. Once you start learning how to dance, believe me, the ladies will flock to you. It happens time and time again. I see that all the time, and especially like over at our dance school, Arthur Murray of Palm Harbor. In fact, they do a show here on the Ballroom Beat. It's so refreshing to see these younger people that are coming out to the dance school to learn the rumba, the samba, the salsa, the tango, the quick step, the smooth dances, and you know, the rock and roll, your swing, and just so much when it comes to dancing. Because you know, music does nurture the soul, but when you can get out there and really boogie and dance to it, it just is a lot of fun. Don't you agree? Think about that next time that you're seeking a relationship. And the other thing is what I will say to anyone that is in the midst of a broken relationship, or maybe a relationship that might be kind of on the rocks, don't ever give up. Don't ever give up. If you really love that person, work at it. Come together. What my husband was saying too, from all his past years of coaching singles and divorced people and people with challenged relationships, you know what? Have the faith, keep your faith, pray about it, meditate about it. You will be surprised at how answers will come to you through divine intervention. And I say that with all honesty and truth in my own relationship with my husband now. I was in a marriage for 28 years and I stuck to it. And the only reason why I got out of it was as I was able to look back and know that I did everything I possibly could do to make that marriage work. And then it was time for me to say goodbye. And you know what? It's no different than anything else. You want to put your best foot forward in relationships, but sometimes there's so many different concept changes. There's so much stress in the world. That's why you hear my husband and I, both of us on our soapbox, talking about how we must reduce the stresses in our lives. Because when we don't, those stresses crop up, and if you live with chronic stress, we can't make decisions properly. We make those decisions from the head, and sometimes they're rash, sometimes they're mean, or just, you know, gonna hurt the other person. And I know it takes patience, and it also takes many years of practice. Believe me when I tell you that. But I've also learned that by setting an example for your family, they see how we are reacting through stress and not making good decisions, or we're responding. When we're responding to different stressful situations and they see that you're stepping back from the situation so that you can get your heart coherence in a really good decision-making mode, everybody gets along a whole lot better. So that's one of the things that I feel is really key to a solid relationship. And some of those cute little moves that my husband was talking about, body language, I forgot to ask him. He said that if you're out at a club or if you're out somewhere, I mean, even in the fruit department at the local supermarket, you can meet somebody there. So he was saying that girls fondle with their ear or their hair or something. I forgot to ask him if I did that when I walked into the health club when I met him, and just thought he was so handsome and so suave and so smooth and friendly and nice and all those great things. But he was going with someone at the time. And he really taught me that, you know what, I could trust him, because he wouldn't flirt back until way down, months down the road. There's so many different things that we can look for in another person and just let things flow. And starting out as friends. Starting out as friends is so good, because you're really not, I don't think, as intimidated as when you purposefully are looking for a relationship and you want to put your best foot forward, and sometimes maybe even, put on a little act or whatever. Just be yourself. Just be yourself. It's really my best code of ethics, is to be yourself and be authentic, be truthful, be honest all the time. Don't tell stories. If you're doing all the different websites for singles and trying to meet someone, put your age that is correct on there. Put a current picture on there. Tell them the truth on who you are, what you're doing, and everything. Because when you make up stories and all that, and I know that happens, I hear all about it, it just comes back and haunts you after a while. In fact, we're actually getting all new headshots here at the studio, because our producer wants us to have exactly what we look like now. And I totally agree, because that's much more authentic to have, the looks of what you are right now. We're doing that in business here at the studio. It's no different in personal relationships. So some of those things that we were talking about as far as rating another person, not in a judgmental way, but in an assessment way, from a scale from 1 to a 10. And I've learned to do that over time, because it helps me make decisions on, do I want to buy that dress? Where is it on the scale from a 1 to a 10? It's so simple. If it isn't stacking up to at least an 8 or a 9, I put it right back on the rack. And I have all this criteria. Well, does it fit good? Is it right color? Do I like the way it fits? Is the price right? So those are all the things that I assess when I'm buying fashions, whether it be a dress or a skirt or a head-to-toe outfit or a pair of shoes. It's no different than in a relationship. So think about that the next time. So if you want that 10, ask yourself how you stack up as far as being a 10 yourself. And remember that 10 is simply a direction. Perfection is only a direction. And if you're happy with yourself at a 7 or 8, God bless you. It's all good. But remember, you can also make those changes in personal growth and development. If you're looking for an 8, 9, or 10 out there, see how you stack up with that, because it will make all the difference in the world. You will definitely have a better match of enthusiasm. You'll have better time spent with this person. You will see that there will be so many different points of interest that you both share in when you kind of use that little gauge and that little assessment. So I hope you've enjoyed our show today. We will be doing Singles and Singles again a little bit later on, and sharing some other little tips of what we've learned, and we're still always learning. My husband and I are always still learning about each other, and it's good because we're both in that growth period, even at this stage of our life, because my husband's always said, when you stop learning, you stop growing. And when you stop growing, life starts to just go downhill. We are just learning so much about so many different things. And I want to thank you for joining us here on Primetime TV Show. My husband will be back again soon on the show, and we'll be bringing you more great things. And don't forget to mark your calendar, because the last Monday of every month is Women Unscripted. And you talk about a fun show with that underlying foundation of inspiration and motivation. You want to come and join us. It will be live at 5, the last Monday of every single month. In fact, we're getting requests of doing that show more than once a week. So we'll figure that all out for you too. It's so good to be with you here on Primetime, right here in the heart of Newport Richey, our Tampa Bay multimedia studio, where we bring these shows to you through WeBeamTV.com. Remember, our show's archived, so you can actually pass it along. And if someone else missed it, or you know someone that's single, or single again, or maybe approaching that singlehood, and they just don't want to be bothered anymore in relationships because they've had a bad one, tell them not to give up hope. Tell them to watch our show, and maybe we can help them with just a few little tips. No guarantees, but at least it might help. Thanks for joining us. Have a very blessed week. We'll see you next time.